Hello, it's Scott Manley here, and as you may have heard, there is a new update to No Man's Sky since, well, pretty much everybody told me about it. The game continues its long journey towards offering every single feature that Sean Murray has promised at some time or another. To be fair, many of those features were promised to interviewers who Sean was trying to be nice to, and he didn't want to disappoint their grand ideas of what the game could or should be, or what was technically possible. But the latest release, 1.3 Atlas Rising, well, it has added, well, what do we got? We got missions, we have a new style of portal fast transfer network, we have a whole new story, we have balanced spaceships, we have the ability to fly low and fast. Right now, as you can see, I'm trying to do a particular mission because it's asking me for 250 herdium. Okay, so this is one of the low-level missions. It is basically nothing more than a fetch quest. I'm simultaneously doing a mission where I'm supposed to scan minerals, find 5 unique minerals, scan them on the surface, and I will get some sort of reward. Here's my big pile of herdium. Let's go and start mining it. Actually, let's just cut that out, because as you know, No Man's Sky does seem to have a lot of walking around and standing around and doing things very slowly. Indeed, a common theme of all of the updates that have come for No Man's Sky has been basically quality of life improvements, ways to make things happen faster, ways to get around faster, like teleporters and your rovers. And that is of course on top of legitimate new content that's been arriving with every release. The game was absolutely terribly flawed upon release and didn't live up to many of the claims that had been bandied around. But you absolutely have to give the developer credit for continuing to work on these free updates. This is 1 year on. I'm not sure they're really getting any new sales. I mean, right now the game is 60% off, and I still can't say it's for everyone at that price. I certainly would absolutely love it. In fact, I bought another copy for the PlayStation so I could sit on the sofa and just chill out with the game. You know, a lot of people want, you know, more narrative, bigger sandboxes, more physics. I don't know, there's lots of reasons why people have been turned off by this game. But largely the reputation comes from over-promising and under-delivering on its first release. I certainly don't think 1.3 has reached the center of the galaxy that is Sean Murray's promises, but you know, it did add things like being able to hold tab to skip over those journey progress displays. So yeah, I did my herdium picking up, and I get to pass that in. Yay! Go me! More awesome things. This is playing in easy sandbox mode as well, so the things that are really locked are standing with the alien races and blueprints. Everything else you've pretty much got infinite off. You see there's a bunch of missions here which are currently unavailable depending upon the faction. One feature which apparently got a lot of love this time around was the spacecraft model, the flight model and all that. Space combat, they say it's a whole lot better. I haven't done enough of it to honestly tell you whether that's true or not. But the game does now let you fly at much lower levels. No longer is it like the nanny holding your hand, making sure you're away from all the scary sharp edges of that landscape. To be honest, when I got No Man's Sky originally, I did apply a mod which reduced the flight ceiling so I would be flying a lot lower because, I don't know, I guess I kind of like that. But it did occasionally have trouble where you would get stuck in a location and you would crash as soon as you launched. It seems to have fixed all that. One thing that is kind of odd is that it will force you above any terrain, so it is actually possible to occasionally fly under something like that, but most of the time when you try to fly under something, the game will say, you know what, we want you to go over the top, so let me aim for this one. I've got plenty of run up, and as I get very close, the game forces me upwards until it crashes into it. I wasn't going to crash. Hey, autopilot, I was not going to crash there. I had handed my beer off and I was gonna fly under that, but you made me crash by trying to save me from myself. One other feature, which I have not actually tried myself, is joint exploration mode. If you remember, Sean Murray was quoted on several occasions that there would be multiplayer in the final game, and there wasn't. Joint exploration kind of provides a halfway version of that. I don't think there's a huge amount of communication of state. You can't be fighting the same beasties, but you can at least see the same landscape, and your friends basically appear as floating balls of light, like this. It's a long way from what was originally suggested, but hey, it's a free update 1 year after the game's original release. Which is a lot more than many other games will do. If you remember, many people were saying the last release 1.2 was a rip-off of Mass Effect Andromeda, and I can tell you, that game isn't going to be getting updates 1 year after release. Perhaps the most surprising thing about this new release is that it did actually make me kind of reset one of my save games and go back. Now, the game doesn't allow multiple save game management, but I, work around that by copying around save files. Yeah, I restarted the base game. The intro has changed a bit. There's a whole lot of new features, like you see me unlocking boxes by either taking out rusted metal, which is a resource, or sometimes you have to add stuff to fix it. It's not the greatest gameplay mechanic, but there was a case where I had to unlock something next to a pretty important location, ended up going underground into the tunnels, and got lost for like an hour while you're basically living off the land. Sometimes those stories are the stories that make the game worthwhile. But yeah, the story is, they've altered it a lot. To try and introduce some of the new content. They have also added much better mission guides, right? So there is a menu which will track your missions, your goals, your milestones, and the log has primary missions, secondary missions, just lets you keep track of everything that you're supposed to be doing. And this obviously applies to the missions you get from the mission takers, and it lets you split the multiple, or manage the multiple storylines. A good example of this is the way they introduced the first level of base building, where you're not really building a base, you're just adding a structure. In this case, it's a signal booster. You need it to help you look for ore deposits, to look for herdium to fix your spacecraft. So, it's just kind of trying to put together all these disparate pieces in a more sensible way. Similarly, when you actually establish a base, because you can basically find a structure, take it over, turn it into base, it'll give you a series of tasks for suggestions for how to expand your base and make it all work. So again, the narrative is there, or at least the guide is there. There is also a fairly substantial menu just full of guides, important stuff, stuffed in the game. And that's nice if you want to kind of sit down and read lots. But No Man's Sky is really, a large part is just looking around like a space tourist in a practically infinite space galaxy. To having new stuff to look at is always a big bonus for each release, and one of the things that was added are crashed freighters. The game had freighters in the original release. You were able to rent them out with a 1.1, and now they can come crashing to the ground to provide all sorts of, well, loot and stuff inside the ground. You can't actually get at the loot, as I understand it, until you get the terrain manipulator. And we'll talk more on that later. But yes, look, we get the signal has led me to the wreck of a freighter. Yes, the story mode is showing off some of the new eye candy. Nestled among the debris, I found the pilot's log blinking, awaiting input. Ship's logs requested, accessing. Instead of displaying the ship's log, the terminal spits out a strange sequence of numbers. They are followed by, the anomaly comes for the stars. Take flight. And you get your hyperdrive blueprint, which lets you, of course, finally get from one star system to the next. So, your story is pretty much following the same pattern of previous versions, where you're just bootstrapping your way up through the technology, getting further and further afield, and eventually you start meeting Atlas and a new character. In playing through the game, I also seem to, get the impression that there has been more improvements to the wildlife. Some bigger beasties floating around for sure. And yeah, this particular thing seemed, well, quite huge. But strangely enough, only weighs 277 kilos. That seems strangely low. Unless perhaps I'm actually a midget in this space universe. Anyway, yeah, if you follow all the, clues and the distress signals, you will come down to a crashed spaceship, the Stranger's coordinates. They hit you up with a message which is garbled, but you trace it back to this spacecraft. And the nice thing is, actually, one of the things that's changed is you can obviously get new spacecraft in the game. They now have broken slots, and I don't think I'd seen that previously, but now you can upgrade your ship with more slots, but the extra ones are all broken, so you basically have to spend cash. It's a nice way, I guess, of, I guess it's just another way of making you grind stuff to make the game longer. You know, it can be very annoying to have a spacecraft which is ostensibly an upgrade and yet has one less slot because, you know, they're all broken. But based on the data from the wreck, you can find out their frequency and contact them. And this is an entirely new type of alien. We've never seen this in the game before, although there aren't many intelligent aliens in the game and they all pretty much follow a handful of templates. So adding a whole new alien is actually a bigger thing than you might otherwise think in a game with 2 to the 64 planets, right? How did you find my voice? Well, you know, the game showed me where to go. I tell the stranger about the abandoned starship. It's outside, but I think I'm safe. There are 16 of them. They look just like... Fear and confusion dance within the eyes of the stranger. After a few moments of silence, they turn to me, imploring. You don't know who you are. It lied to me. It lied. The sound cuts out, but their face lingers on, silent. Artemis needs my help. Artemis, another name taken from Greek mythology. Yeah, obviously a new intelligent alien species in the game, which, you know, in a game with 2 to the 64 planets, there are a surprisingly small number of intelligent alien species in this game, so adding one more is a bigger thing than you might otherwise guess. Further clues have brought me to this location, a mysterious hollow terminus. That's spelled hollow, H-O-L-O. It isn't actually hollow on the inside, or it might be hollow. A hologram in air is probably hollow, although I guess since it doesn't have a surface, it's projected from light, that means it's not actually hollow. I don't know, you know, what is the definition? It's always very confusing. Regardless, at the top of this thing, we have a comms tower. Power it with stuff, so you need energy. And I guess I could give it anything on this list. I have no idea what kind of power source actually can use iron. It's certainly not a nuclear power source. Multiple signals activated. The tower hosts a powerful transmitter. The extra power should allow me to establish connection to Artemis. I try to locate Artemis' frequency. Ooh, nice. That is pretty fancy. Pretty fancy tech. Oh, look! That is a person there, an alien person. Hello! Help me, Obi-Wan Pachobi. You're my only hope. So yeah, they say they've added something like 30 hours of story, although I'm not really sure how they measure that. I'd certainly be interested. I'm certainly enjoying playing through it, but I'm just going to switch over and show you some other bits and pieces. So yeah, I mentioned the terrain manipulator. That brings No Man's Sky up to the same level as Astroneer and other games which let you manipulate the landscape. So you can now extrude stuff. Previously you were able to blow holes in things using certain types of grenades, but now obviously you can extrude stuff with this gun and, you know, it gets fueled in the same way. You don't get it right away, and I did actually get stuck in caverns for a long time early on in the game. There is a ceiling as to how high you can build, and if you dig down you're also going to find that there is a lower level you can get to before everything stops working. Yeah, down here, I guess this is actually considered to be the surface because you get the toxic, toxin message saying, hey, you know, you're actually getting corroded by this bedrock. Don't walk through it. So, you know, if base building wasn't enough for you, you can take this to the next level and build giant sculptures all around it, and we all know what those sculptures are going to look like. I'm pretty sure that's actually procedural. I certainly didn't put those planets there, did I? So another little quality of life update is the ability to summon your spacecraft from the little X menu there. Bingo, you see that? So it turns green and your spacecraft will come and join you. This obviously works best in sandbox mode. It's not going to work in survival mode or anything. But you need to build devices to make that happen. I can jump on board and carry myself back to the stars. The analysis visor now works on a whole lot more things, so you can analyze your mineral deposits and everything ahead of time. And there are actually upgrades that will make it better. I think it was a previous version where they actually added the ability to zoom in with the binoculars, with the visor as well. The changelog also talks about new portals, basically, that you can unlock using glyphs. I haven't encountered these, I haven't had time to figure all that out. I'm just kind of casually playing through the main game, and I think we're nearing the end of this trip towards the centre of Sean Murray's galaxy of imaginary features. They're certainly not all there, but there's a lot of them there. We're missing the giant sandworms unless somebody has found them. I mean, the truth is, I felt that I had to stop playing the game to come together and edit this video, and you can see that it's made of a lot of different gameplay from a lot of different sections, because I've got like 8 hours worth of footage, which is rare for a game. Never mind a game that is a year old. The only other games where I get that amount of footage to edit down is like Kerbal Space Program and Elite Dangerous, so I'm clearly enjoying this, at least on those levels, although I don't think that it's near the quality of either of those just yet. So yeah, if you see that copy of No Man's Sky cheap in the store for the PlayStation, you know, pick it up, because it's actually, you know, at a heavily discounted price. It's absolutely worth every penny. At its full retail value, it's a bit of a harder sell, but you know, you'll know if you like this game, and if you like this game, you've probably already bought it. So I'm really happy to see No Man's Sky continuing. Maybe we'll have another year of releases. I'm not sure if it's time for paid DLC yet, but you know, I'm really glad the team is working on it. I'm Scott Manley. Fly safe.